From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, November 30th. Buckle up for a cold Wednesday. We're going to stay in the 30s with strong winds, making it feel like the teens and low 20s with that wind chill. An attempt to stop a suspected drunk driver led to shots being fired by Indianapolis police. It happened overnight near Washington and Emerson. Police say both the officer and the suspect suffered injuries, but neither from the gunshot. Officers say at one point the suspect rammed into the police officer's cruiser. Here's a timeline of what happened. Around 11:30 last night, IMPD says the officer tried to pull over a woman who was driving a brown pickup for drunk driving. The officer chased the suspect until she came to a stop in a nearby alley on Bancroft Street. That's when the woman put the truck in reverse and rammed into the police car with the officer still in it. Police say as the driver got out of the truck, the officer fired at least one shot before chasing her down. The officer tased the woman, then arrested her. Both the suspect and the officer are in local hospitals with some minor injuries. The officer is now on administrative leave while the department investigates. We do know a little more about the suspect. She was wanted on a felony warrant for possession of narcotics out of Delaware County. We also now know the vehicle the suspect was in was reported stolen several minutes before the initial traffic stop. And police say a man is dead after an East Side shooting. It happened on Woods Crossing Drive near English Avenue and I-65. Officers say they found the man shot to death near the road. IMPD says officers responded to a shots fired call in the area sometime last night but didn't find anything. So far, no word on the victim's name or any potential suspect information. A judge's decision exposes new details in the Delphi murders. From iTeammate, the release of the probable cause affidavit reveals for the first time how investigators linked Richard Allen to the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German. The records have stayed sealed since Allen's arrest, but a judge ordered them released yesterday. iTeammate's Richard Essex breaks down the trove of new information.
Investigators say this is Richard Allen, the man captured on video and audio telling Libby and Abby to get down the hill. Video captured on Libby's phone shows Abby walking on the Monon High Bridge with the suspect right behind her. When the suspect approached the girls, one of them said, "Gun." It is near the end of the video that he orders them down the hill. The suspect was spotted by a woman who told police that she saw a man walking away from the Monon High Bridge. He was wearing a dark-colored jacket and jeans that was muddy and bloody. She said it appeared as if he had gotten into a fight. According to the probable cause, investigators found an unfired .40 caliber bullet on the ground in between the bodies of Libby and Abby. Richard Allen told police during an interview on October 13th that he owned a .40 caliber pistol. Police claimed that they matched the unfired round to Allen's gun. Allen told investigators that he'd owned the gun since 2001 and had never loaned it to anyone. The bodies of Abby and Libby were found under the Monon High Bridge. The probable cause affidavit reveals investigators found some of the girls' clothes in a creek nearby. iTeammate reported late last year that investigators believe the girls' bodies had been moved and staged. The affidavit says the girls were victims of homicide, but the public version does not discuss their injuries or the cause of death. The first time police interviewed Allen was in 2017. Just a few days after Libby and Abby were murdered. At the time, he told investigators that he'd been in the area of the Monon Trail the day the girls were murdered and had even been on the bridge. In the probable cause, he told investigators that he saw 3 girls that day. One of them taller with brown or black hair, but he didn't talk to anyone that day. Police may have talked to those girls. 3 girls told police that they had been on the bridge and encountered a man wearing blue jeans and a light blue jacket. They described him as kind of creepy. In an interview with police just 2 days before his arrest, police say Allen again admitted that he had been on the trail, but he denied knowing the girls are being involved in their murders. The public version of the affidavit never directly says that Richard Allen killed the girls. The charging information accuses Allen of murder during the commission of a kidnapping. Allen's attorney last week called the evidence against him flimsy. I reached out to him this afternoon, and he's not making any comments at this time. In the newsroom, Richard Essex, Wish TV, iTeammate.
Experts who have followed the case for years tell us that the probable cause does not directly pin the murders on Allen. Anya Kane and lawyer Kevin Greenlee have covered every aspect of the case with the Murder Sheet podcast. She says it's not clear if prosecutors are looking at a kidnapping felony murder charge because that makes for a stronger case or because there are others involved who are not yet facing charges. Along with the timelines, video evidence, and the unspent .40 caliber round linked to Allen's gun, the probable cause has comments from several unnamed witnesses. A former FBI agent tells us that witness testimony is highly unreliable, especially over time. Allen's lawyers have already cast doubt in the case, saying they're not impressed with the evidence and that Allen tells them he is innocent. Again, his lawyers are calling the probable cause affidavit very flimsy. The document is not all public. We only have received 7 of the 8 pages, so there is a lot we're still working to learn. And Richard Allen's attorneys want the trial moved. An IU professor tells ITmate to expect a quick decision. Allen's change of venue request asks for a court at least 150 miles away from Carroll County, listing 25 different reasons. The main focus, finding a jury pool that has not seen as much coverage of the case. Allen's attorneys cite Google search statistics showing that 50% of people in Carroll County have searched Allen's name since his October arrest, compared to less than 4% of people in Fort Wayne. They also say the jury pool is tainted because so many people in the area have been interviewed as part of the investigation. IU professor Jody Madeira says she thinks 150 miles would be sufficient of a distance and that the arguments for the move are very persuasive. Madeira says if other suspects are charged in the case, she expects the process to play out all over again for those cases. Allen's bail hearing is set for February 17th. He's asking the judge to release him without bond or with a reasonable bail. Prosecutors are asking for a gag order in the case as well to prevent all sides from talking about it outside the courtroom. We've made it easy for you to see the newly released documents. Just go to our website right now, wishtv.com. You can find this story in the As Seen On section where we have posted the documents. And today, the House could vote on legislation to force the nation's rail unions to accept a deal brokered in September. As we've reported, President Biden introduced the measure in an effort to avert a nationwide rail strike. One Indiana Republican is expressing concern about the bill. Representative Larry Bouchon says he's not sure how he would vote, in part because he's not had a chance to review all the details. He says it's unfair to force a vote so quickly on such a major issue. Indiana Representative Andre Carson serves on the subcommittee on railroads, pipelines, and hazardous materials. The Democrat shared a statement with News 8 saying, I have been briefed by local labor groups and regional business leaders about some of their concerns and share in their desire to avoid supply disruptions. I look forward to hearing more about a possible legislative fix and remain open to all options. A landmark bill to protect same-sex and interracial marriage is headed to the U.S. House. In the Senate, all Democrats and 12 Republicans voted in favor for it. Indiana's Todd Young voted yes, Mike Braun voted no. The bill does not aim to force every state to legalize same-sex marriage, but would protect them by compelling all states to recognize the legal marriages of other states. Next up, a vote in the House, which looks likely to pass before the end of the year. The parents of an Illinois hockey team are filing a lawsuit after the team's bus was hit by a semi in Kosciuszko County. The lawsuit's going after the semi's driver, his trucking company, and the company who owns the truck. Police say Victor Santos was drunk when he crashed into the bus on November 12th. 16 people were injured. The lawyer representing the parents says that Santos had a criminal history, which includes violations of federal motor carrier safety regulations, and he should never have been behind the wheel in the first place. ITmate did find that Santos had a valid commercial driver's license. It's unclear what kind of background check Santos went through with the company that owned the truck. There is no trial date set for this case yet. Indiana abortion clinics are again required to bury or cremate fetal remains. A federal appeals court reinstated the law on Monday. The law was originally adopted in 2016, but an Indiana judge ruled it infringed upon free speech and religious rights this September. The appeals court cited a 2019 Supreme Court ruling upholding the fetal remains provision. According to the court, the provision does not require any woman to violate her beliefs because it only applies to hospitals and clinics. A guilty verdict is in for the founder of the Oath Keepers and 4 of the group's members. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Stuart Rhodes guilty of seditious conspiracy for a violent plot to overturn the presidential election results. It's the most serious charge yet in the aftermath of the insurrection. Rhodes and his 4 co-defendants got mixed verdicts on the other charges. The jury says all are guilty of obstructing the certification of President Biden's victory. Rhodes' attorneys plan to appeal. A suspect in the 2020 killing of Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen is pleading guilty. Authorities say Cecily Aguilar helped her boyfriend Aaron Robinson to kill, dismember, and dispose of Guillen's body in the woods. Robinson committed suicide when Guillen's body was found 2 months later. Aguilar pleaded guilty yesterday to 1 count of accessory to murder after the fact and 3 counts of making a false statement. A sentencing date hasn't been set. Aguilar could face up to 30 years in prison. The USA men's national team is making its first appearance in the knockout stage of the World Cup in 8 years. The team took on Iran yesterday in the final Group B match for both teams. The USA had to win to advance, and Christian Pulisic helped the team do just that, with an injury that did force him out of the game almost immediately after the shoot. He scored the one and only goal in the 37th minute. It ended up being all the team needed for a 1-0 victory. The team will now face the Netherlands Saturday morning at 10. And to business headlines, Gas Buddy says prices at the pump could drop below $3 a gallon. The fuel cost of $3.52 a gallon on average in the U.S. Monday, down about 12 cents from a week ago. AAA says the current average in central Indiana is $3.59 a gallon. The hotly anticipated results of a clinical trial of an experimental Alzheimer's drug suggests that the treatment slowed cognitive decline somewhat for people in the early stages of the disease, but also caused some patients to experience brain swelling or brain bleeding. The new data released Tuesday evening offered the first detailed look at the effects of the drug lecanemab and other drugs before it. Keith Vossel, the director of Mary S. Easton Center for Alzheimer's Research and Care at UCLA, says it shows the need to start Alzheimer's treatment early. Alzheimer's experts said that the new information showed reason for both optimism and caution. The Senate Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing this week to scrutinize the potential impact of the Kroger-Albertson merger. To win approval for the deal from antitrust regulators, Albertsons and Safeway agreed to sell 168 of their stores to buyers approved by the Federal Trade Commission. This may be the last Christmas season for Sears. There are only 15 full-line Sears stores still open. Sears was once the world's largest and most important retailer. Sears suffered as shoppers' tastes and shopping habits changed. One question is, will the Sears name survive? The name Sears might survive even if the final full-line stores do close. Wall Street Journal reports many daters are increasingly pushing back and embracing frugality. It's a necessity for some, with the price of restaurant meals up 17% and alcoholic beverages away from home up 12% since before the pandemic. That's according to the most recent Consumer Price Index. Los Angeles-based dating coach Julie Spira says rom-coms taught people to shower a love interest with elaborate gifts, food, and wine to signal their interest. Now, she says, that kind of move is more likely to signal that you're out of touch with today's economic concerns. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.